Well, here we are. This is where the spur comes off. I have a bigger video of this though, that's just of it, and some stills. And now you can see this is the track heading back south. I'll turn around and you can see there's the track heading north and the next curve. This is quite a little gully down in here. The further north you go, then there's a hill above it, so it's sort of like a big ditch. But we'll come down here and you'll see this other flat spot that we noticed on the map. It actually looks like a little road that goes off to the side there. So again, I'm at 23 and I've marked, let's go back down there. You can see I brought orange yarn, so they're pretty easy to see. Not every one of them when you get up close to the crossing is marked, but the majority are, so it makes them visible. So here we have a really good landmark for you. When you start looking for this, you'll come around the curve and you'll see these three stubs, these three little dead trees. So that's the beginning of it right there. And you can see we're just kind of heading along here, and the track is really bad. The ants are quite active today since it's gotten warmer. A lot of ants hills around, and they're on the track and in the timbers. So here we go. Again, you can see there's an anthill right there, and now we're approaching that other flat area. You can see here's the way the spur came off. We'll take a look at the track up here when we get a little closer. I haven't been able to find anywhere. Oh, there's another thing for you to watch for, the two nails in the cross tie. And like I said, I had a hell of a time finding anything that would tell me about this being changed. Now see, this has a plate on it that says 1920, so I think that's kind of interesting. So maybe that's when they took the old spur up and replaced it with all this other stuff here. Just regular old rail and no switch, no nothing, just like it never existed. So as you can see now, it's kind of flat. There's sort of farmland back in there. I do believe that what we see there is what I found on the other side when I walked around, where I think I found the mines. Here's that flat spot. It's kind of like what we've seen on the other side of the crossing, where you have a flat spot and it just goes off into the woods, and perhaps it was a road. I think it was, because right then next to it is another big old ditch. And then, it's like a hill on the other side. So hard to say. It's like when they built the railroad, they just raised it quite a bit because they knew it was going to be mucky here. And you can see here's the other side. Now I'm looking back. You get a good view of how the spur takes off into the west. And then we're going to go down here. Of course, I've probably passed. Yeah, you can see it. There's another marker, the orange. You can maybe see it in the camera. So we're going to cruise right along here. This side, both sides have this pretty deep ditch. There's no water in it, but again, it looks like there's a road over there. It's just sort of all bunched up, like maybe they took the dirt to make this higher from that ditch, and then that's it. I don't know. This side's got a similar deal, kind of dug out, and you can hear a rooster in the background. What's interesting is over at that other spot, they had been excavating because they're going to sell it. And there's some old metal down there. There's metal, and there's like a little horsey thing. I'll show you all that when I get there to those photos. Now you can see this looks like there's more of a road down in here again, or a trail. We'll get a little closer. Now, wouldn't that be special if down in there was actually where that photo was taken, and there's actually remnants of an old skid road or something down in there? Wouldn't that be something? But it looks like this little road comes out and it just turns into a trail that follows along down into this gully area. And it goes back off into there. Probably somebody just four-wheeling on the back of their property. And then you can see over here you have a looks like pasture with fencing. I believe this is where there's a little road that comes over. I can't remember the number on it, but that's what this is. And then we'll just move right along here. We're getting closer to one. Oh, and then you see there's a lot of ants here. They're like everywhere. Makes me itch. Okay, here we are. We're now at 1800. So we've come a little ways. And you can look back. You can see kind of where the flat spots are. There's a big old timber down there. Then you can see someone's used that as a path, maybe for motorcycling or four-wheeling of some sort. It looks more like a single wheel. So moving right along here. Gonna get closer to the curve. Still awful raised up here. It's almost too high in this point to be any place for our town, except for maybe a look down into where they were doing their logging. Because right up here it looks like there's pretty flat, and it goes off into the pasture area, so they would be able to get in and out pretty easy. You can see the area over there. There's actually a road where the pipeline exists. And here we are. You can see a little better down in here. And for whatever reason, this has had something for quite a while in it, because it has what I used to call pigweed. I think it has those little yellow flowers on it. So very interesting. You can see again, it looks like someone's using it as a little course, but very flat. Kind of looks a lot like that picture in some ways, the second picture. Okay, and on this side, you can see we just have a little forest. There's no fencing anywhere down on this end. The fencing basically just disappeared. You can see that side. Now you can see someone built a fairly newer home back in there. I think it's a newer home, or else it was major remodeled. More road. Now we're starting to get down around the corner here. And I can see the next orange marker, so we'll stop and see how far we've come. I swear I see an old tractor or something back in there. Maybe it's just old wood and fence. Oh, look at that. That's actually an old fence. No, that can't. Maybe it is a fence post. All right, here we are at 1500. And as you can see, we're moving right along now. Pretty soon we're going to have the crossing come into sight. Actually, I can see it. I'll hold this steady. If you look way down there, you can see the crossing sign. And you can see on this side, there's sort of a, it's definitely elevated, but it's fairly flat going off to the east. But then on the west, it's even more elevated and chunky, and there's another mound over there. I'm not sure what they were doing, or whether that's just the way the earth was. Okay, we're gonna come on up here. This is gonna be 14. Yeah, here's 14. And you can see I got out of number sequence, but I fixed it. And then moving right along. Now we're gonna go where the railroad isn't quite so raised up. This is sort of the last of it. There's a dual anthills. Looks like a pair of boobs. And then we'll call them the boob antholes. And that didn't sound very nice. Then moving right along, you can see up here, it looks like they put the railroad right through a cut. Basically scooped it out before they got to this raised, elevated area. I couldn't help myself. And I think we're all pretty familiar with this area. This is the spot where you guys actually have done a considerable amount of digging around once I get out of this little area here. And I also came down here and thought I found where the spur that started on the other side of 384th ended. But as usual, there is no real sign that there was a switch or anything, because when they took all those out, they took all their toys and went home with them and took them somewhere else. So now we're getting down to where we're all pretty familiar. I can see the first fence post, old fence post. It's right there. But even better is there's another huge anthills. I mean, we're talking, these guys are everywhere. And if you look down here on the track, here they are carrying stuff along. I mean, they're like everywhere. In some places, they're really prevalent. Kind of give me the willies, but you know, whatever. You just squish their asses. And so we're moving right along down here. This all looks familiar. At some point, I'll start seeing all the little holes you guys left. Yeah, that's pretty old fence. It has that like old wire in it. It used to be used, or else they just use a lot of. No, it's like a grid wire, bigger than chicken wire, but similar kind of concept. And you can see now we've got quite a little gully going on here, and we're getting closer to the road. And the area just keeps going. I don't see any more fencing though, just that one corner. Looks like it all rotted away. Still on this side, nothing to write home about. Well, is that wood? Yeah, that's wood. Anyway, moving right along. Okay, we're coming up on another one of my little markers. I kind of like the orange. It stands out a little better. Yeah, here. We're at 900 now. Ah, there's another fence post. And I think I'm starting to see where you guys dug down in here. There's little holes periodically. It's kind of flattening out. Just woods on both sides. A little gully here with a couple of fence posts leaning different directions. The wire is actually still there if you look close. Over here I have a few more posts. Even though this technically is no man's land, maybe this was fencing that the Northern Pacific put up. So again, I think, well, yeah, and then yeah, they're kind of encroaching. Look at that, a big old bird sitting on the fence post. What the hell are you? Ravens! Let's see if I can make my camera move in closer. I don't know, that looks like, well, he's got something in his mouth maybe. I don't think he's a raven. I think he's something like a vulture or a turkey or something. Well, guess for another day we'll find out. Anyway, as you can see, let's see if I can get this back in focus well. Make my zoom off. Okay, so back to where we are. Moving right along. The next, maybe it's just a rooster. Big old red top. He doesn't look colorful enough to be. All right, this is 700 right here. This is where it was real flat. There used to be, okay, so I think this is where I at one point figured out there used to be a siding ending here, and it used to kind of join in at some point. This is about right. Again, if you look at the rail, I can't ever see where that changed. Looks like somebody I know has been digging. And you can see up here, I'll have to get back up on the track because it has another dip in it. We still have quite a bit of fencing with barbed wire, even though it's all falling apart. And this side, now you can see the back of that old house that's up on 384th. getting to some serious fencing here, some newer fencing with round poles. And I am going to get back up on the track. And this is what the other side looks like. Not too raised compared to some places, but probably a little much for our town. There's another anthill on this side. This is where I thought that the track was really crappy. And this must be some metal you guys dug up. And another little ditch. There's more metal back in there. I don't know if you can see it. And other assorted debris. Another anthill or two. Now we're moving right along here. And here's 300. I think this is the first one with the orange on it. And you can see there's some more current fencing. We have metal stakes, some more of that round pole. This is, I think, where Alan found a lot of glass and other assorted stuff. Yeah, it looks like there's some fiberglass. Other stuff is just sort of laying here. If the map is right, at one point, it has the word Veazie written right here in the map on this spot, right where I'm pointing, where this sort of like all this grass and brush is on the other side of that fence line. Not really sure if that's really where anything was or if there was a station there. Of course, we know the abandoned station was right over there. And then here's the crossing and my little old car. So there we are. It's the end of it. Pretty exciting. Found where the spur was at least.